crisis in care, the acute staff shortage that threatens our most vulnerable. Service providers hit by Brexit and the pandemic simply can't find enough workers to look after patients, leading to stress and desperation.
And the amount of times that I say, I've had enough, I can't do this no more. I don't want to do all these hours. I want a life, like everyone else has got a life.
Also tonight, state of emergency in New York. Devastating floods killed 22 in America's northeast.
Dame Sarah's story, record breaker, history maker.
Champion of champions, triumph for Sarah's story as she becomes our greatest ever Paralympian. And from super shielder to super scooter, what little Mila did next.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. Care providers have told ITV News that they are in the middle of their worst staffing crisis in history. A toxic cocktail of Brexit, the pandemic and low pay means that many providers simply can't recruit enough workers, and in some cases they're having to hand contracts back. Caught in the middle are overworked carers and desperate patients who are forced to wait months for care. Our UK editor Paul Brand has this exclusive report.
Good morning. Oh, hello, Joe.
It is their job to put a brave face on it, but carers are in a crisis the masks can no longer hide.
We're going to have our shower.
In Somerset, 88-year-old Joan Jones can't wash or dress herself. Now the time is dangerously close when her carers won't be able to do it either.
They give me confidence to get up, get my wheels and go out and about.
But unprecedented staff shortages mean the support is no longer as steady. Joan's care now increasingly falls to family, her son Bruce. She doesn't know he's recovering from his own treatment for cancer.
I can't tell her. The added responsibility of looking after someone with dementia, which in itself, I love my mum to bits, but it's exhausting.
And not just for him, but for the carers too. Christine regularly works 60-hour weeks to cover for the lack of colleagues.
And the amount of times I've tried to take this jacket off because I'm a senior and say, I don't want this anymore, I can't cope. It's been about 5 times in the last month. I don't want to do all these hours. I want a life, like everyone else has got a life. And all these carers are all, shattered. We need help.
And they need it across the UK. In a survey of home care providers for ITV News, 78% said recruitment was harder than ever. 95% can't take on new clients, and 30% are having to stop care for some they already see.
I'm really sorry to ask again.
At Candlelight Care in Glastonbury, 60 carers now cover a company that previously employed 100. From workers leaving due to Brexit or bad hours to the pressures of the pandemic and low pay, they've all led to red gaps on the roster.
If you've got somebody on the phone, somebody crying because they've been told to source their own care, and then you have to turn around and say you can't help.
What's that like to say that you can't help?
Soul destroying, yeah.
It's upsetting for you.
It is, yeah.
And without that care, where will families like Joan's turn to for comfort?
Thank you.
Oh, Paul, it's such an upsetting report, isn't it, from both sides, patients and carers. But there are other implications, aren't there, for the wider health service?
Yeah, because those who go into the health system must come out, and that's normally where the care system steps in. So they help to discharge these patients, they look after them in their homes. At the moment, that's just not happening because there's this shortage of staffing in the care sector. In fact, we've seen lists and lists of people who are waiting up to 3 months to have a provider assigned to them. They're just not getting that care. The government says in response to our report, it will bring forward its long-term plan for social care by the end of the year. That's going to have to contain significantly more money, Mary, for the sector and for those who work in it if it's going to resolve this crisis.
OK, Paul Brown, keep us in touch with that. Well, let's move on to the United States now, where at least 22 people, including a toddler, have died in severe flooding caused by the tail end of Hurricane Ida. Now, the storm brought torrential rain, which fell on several states along the northeast coast, causing flash flooding and tornadoes. Pennsylvania was badly hit, along with New Jersey and New York City, both of which declared a state of emergency. And politicians are warning that such events will only get worse unless global warming is tackled. Here's our US correspondent, Emma Murphy.
Look at that tornado!
The warnings had been there. The storm was coming. But there was little that could be done to protect from Ida's wrath. New Jersey is not tornado territory. And the consequences were stark. The sanctuary of homes blown away by the wind. Houses broken beyond repair.
Like it got black like instantly, and everything just boom, and you could hear the lights were flickering.
In New York, New Jersey and Pennsylvania, a state of emergency was declared as a month's worth of rain fell in one day, submerging streets, even trapping those seeking to help. Many of the dead drowned in basements where the water poured in before they could get out. Rescue teams travelled house to house seeking to get people to safety. Travellers had to flee from New York's subway system as it was engulfed by water. The amount of rainfall was historic, 9 centimetres per hour, breaking the previous record set only last week and prompting warnings from those tasked with managing such crises.
Global warming is upon us, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse unless we do something about it.
Such pledges are part of every crisis, but not always part of the recovery. Nature's warnings, so often forgotten when the waters subside. Emma Murphy, ITV News, in the United States.
Here, an independent inquiry has found shocking failings in the way major UK religious groups handle allegations of child sex abuse. The report found evidence of abuse in 38 different groups, including Christianity, Orthodox Judaism and Islam, and said religious leaders were morally failing children. Health bosses are warning the NHS in England and Wales desperately needs at least £10 billion more each year to live with COVID. They say more money is also needed to help cover the backlog of those waiting to receive treatment, which is currently at a record high. And police have drained a lake near York in their latest search for clues into the disappearance of Claudia Lawrence. The 35-year-old chef went missing in March 2009. Detectives say the search at St Hutton is part of several lines of inquiry. Now, the Foreign Secretary says Britain won't recognise the Taliban government, but it does need to engage with them to resume evacuations from Afghanistan. It is feared that hundreds of UK nationals and Afghan allies remain trapped. Dominic Raab was in Qatar today for talks to restart evacuation flights. From Doha, here's our global security editor, Rohit Kachru.
At the border with Pakistan, the queues to get out don't move. They're waiting here by day, sleeping here by night. Leaving by land is the only option. This British citizen, a businessman from London, is stuck in Kabul. He can't get to a border, never mind get across.
How can we make it? There's a, in every 20 meters, there's a checkpoint. If they see our passport, that even we'll be in more danger. So how they're expecting us to go all the way 300-400 kilometers in the nearest border, which is Pakistan.
It was one of the issues discussed in Qatar today, where the Foreign Secretary met his counterpart, and where the world is working out how to deal with the Taliban. Nearby, the team which might have to do that dealing, a relationship of sorts.
We will not be recognising the Taliban, but we do see the need to be able to have direct engagement. Otherwise, we can't provide messages, we can't listen to the response.
But he's been criticised after a leaked report revealed his department had warned that Afghanistan could fall weeks before it did.
It says cities would fall, they did. It said the Taliban might take control, they did. What went wrong?
It was a corporate internal risk register document based on the wider intelligence assessment that had been done, and it didn't contradict the central assessment, which was that the most likely outcome was that there'd be a steady deterioration in the situation after the full evacuation, so from September and in the months ahead. I think I've been pretty fulsome with my answers and very transparent about the situation.
In Herat today, dozens of women protested, demanding the Taliban cabinet has female members. An announcement about who will fill and who will lead its government is imminent. An early test. Rohit Khatri, ITV News, Doha.
Still to come on the ITV Evening News, we hear Paralympic GB's 17-time Golden Girl, Dame Sarah Story. Plus...
Hello!
Remember Mila? Well, why she's now urging us all to get a scoot on. Those stories and more after the break. Join me then.
Bring it on. Spirits like yours deserve long-lasting bubbles like these. Schweppes, we've got the tonic, you've got the spirit.
Smart meters track your energy usage, so you know when you use more and when you use less, helping you to save on your bills.
Smart meters. Join the energy revolution.
Can you buy a car that's passed a 300-point inspection, been carefully reconditioned, and comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee? Kazoo, yeah you can.
This world is full of little confusions. Get what you bargained for with Confused.com rewards.
Wipes, wipes, wipes. Cut the waste. Try Garnier Micellar Water, now with new reusable eco pads. Micelles work like magnets to cleanse skin and remove up to 100% of makeup. With zero daily waste for clean, healthy-looking skin. Garnier Micellar Water and new reusable eco pads by Garnier, naturally.
The Sainsbury's quality you expect is now price matched to Aldi. Try sweet and crunchy bell peppers for only 42p, with fluffy white rice for just 45p.
Oh, that's what got me.
Find hundreds of Sainsbury's products now price matched to Aldi.
The thing they don't tell you about being a parent is that you'll never stop worrying. You'll worry they won't make friends. You'll worry how they'll keep up. You'll worry about what they eat, all the time. And you'll worry if they struggle. But even if you can't help worrying, you'll always find a way to help. My Tutor, the UK's most trusted tutoring platform.
Dinner, a constant struggle buying food.
Welcome back. Dame Sarah Story has powered her way even further into the record books, winning a 17th gold medal to become Britain's most successful Paralympian. The swimmer turned champion cyclist won her first golds in Barcelona in 1992, and she's not about to retire either. She's already got Paris 2024 in her sights. Here's Lucy Watson on Story's Glory.
That was something special.
There simply aren't enough superlatives for Dame Sarah Story's achievements.
It's the closing metres.
Her 17th golden victory puts her on another level. She is outright the most successful British Paralympian of all time.
Dame Sarah Story, record breaker, history maker.
Almost like an out-of-body experience watching myself cross the line. Each one feels different, and obviously this one has made history. Yeah, it feels strange to say that.
She won her first 2 golds in the pool back in 1992, 3 more in 1996. Then in 2008, she switched to cycling, picking up 2 more golds, 4 more in London, 3 in Rio, and then the 3 this year make it the big 17.
In Japan.
The conditions couldn't have been bleaker in the foothills of Mount Fuji as she battled for gold, while her children were asleep in bed with their dad.
When she was coming down the finish straight, I was just about to start shouting, and I suddenly realised, no, Charlie's actually kind of asleep just here. So you realise at that point how loud your heartbeat is when it's beating really fast.
Her wins in Tokyo have taken her past swimmer Mike Kenny's record of 16 golds in the 70s. She now needs to race home, though, for her son's first day at school.
I've asked him if he can keep his uniform on until I get home. I've sewn the labels in enough uniform for him for tomorrow, and then I'll need to sew the rest of the labels in over the weekend.
Even the nation's premier Paralympic athlete has other jobs to do. But the podium at Paris 2024 is calling her name. Lucy Watson, ITV News, Manchester.
As well as Dame Sarah Story's victory, there were 3 other goals for Paralympics GB in Tokyo today. Like Story, Ben Watson had to battle a torrential rain to win the C13 men's road race. He only took up cycling in 2016 and already has 2 gold medals to his name. Also picking up their second gold of the game, swimmer Bethany Firth, who won the S14 100-metre backstroke. She has 9 Paralympic medals over her career. GB's third gold came for javelin thrower Dan Pembroke, who reached 69 metres to win the F13 final. And 5-time Paralympic champion Ellie Simmons has signalled that Tokyo will be her final games. She finished 5th in the S6 women's 400 metres freestyle. And there was some more positive news today about the benefits of being fully vaccinated against coronavirus. A study found that as well as reducing the chance of catching the virus, it also significantly cut the chances of developing so-called long COVID. As our science editor Tom Clark reports, almost 1 million people are suffering from debilitating symptoms weeks after being infected.
And that will check your oxygen and your heart rate in the middle, and then we'll do it at the end.
It's Jackie Roost's first visit to the long COVID clinic. To assess her fitness, she's asked to walk round in circles.
2 minutes gone.
In a way, it's a lot like her experience of life with long COVID.
You can have periods of being absolutely fine, and then it hits you for no reason whatsoever. You're back to having no energy. You can't get out of bed. You can't function.
The latest statistics published today suggest nearly 1 million people have COVID symptoms lasting more than a month, a number that's remained roughly stable since April.
Go.
How to manage, treat and even define long COVID is an emerging science.
14.
But today, some potentially good news. The first evidence that if you get infected after being vaccinated, you're much less likely to get long COVID.
People who are double jabbed get a significant protection against infection in the first place, but a small number of them get a breakthrough infection. The key thing that we've shown newly in this study is that people were much less likely, like 50% less likely, to go on to get long COVID.
But other challenges are just around the corner. Nearly all school pupils will be back in the coming days. Infection rates are already highest in secondary-aged children, and experts are still unsure whether they benefit from jabs. Cases, hospitalisations and deaths in the wider population are likely to rise. The big question is, by how much? Tom Clark, ITV News.
Now, it's the announcement ABBA fans have been waiting for almost 4 decades. In the last few moments, the band has confirmed that they are back with a new album.
I still have faith in you. I see it now.
ABBA also said they plan to return to the stage virtually, performing digitally as holograms in London next year. And they thanked fans for their patience. And finally tonight, the aspiring 5-year-old who's raising money to help young cancer patients just like her. We first reported on Mila Snedden during the first lockdown, you may remember, when her condition meant that she had to be separated from her dad. Well, now she's urging people to scoot in September, as she told our Scotland correspondent, Peter Smith.
Remember Mila Snedden?
Hello!
The 5-year-old was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia just before the pandemic. Now she's starting her own charity campaign.
Scoot in September to raise money for people who have blood cancer like me.
This image of Mila separated from her dad during lockdown was seen around the world. She was going through chemotherapy, he had to keep going to work, and so he moved out the house to protect his daughter. After 2 months apart, we saw their emotional reunion.
No.
Mila's inspiring story reached royalty and she was invited to meet the Duchess of Cambridge. Now Mila's using her newfound fame to help Blood Cancer UK, but it's not easy. She's still going through chemotherapy herself.
She's still got 7 months of treatment left to go. She had a week break in her chemotherapy last week. She was unwell with an infection. Hopefully ringing the bell in March next year.
Ringing the bell will mean?
Yeah, huge. You know, it'll be huge for Mila. Makes me emotional thinking about it.
And if you want to join Scoot in September,
all you need is a scooter.
Right, I've got my scooter.
And then you get on your scooters and skip. If people donate money, then it'll help me get better soon.
Well, that sounds like a cause worth supporting. Shall we have a race?
Let's have a race.
Okay,
go.
Right, go. Come on! You cheated!
No, never!
Peter Smith, ITV News, Falkirk.
Not a chance to get to Mila, Peter. That's it. Tom's here at 10 from me and all the team. Bye-bye.